Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time I'm going to be having a look at 5 more series, both vintage and modern, that you might want to collect. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so the first series we're going to be having a look at is the vintage Daw Paperbacks. So there they are. Donald A. Wilhelm, that's the initials. He was the founder of Daw Books, and this is the very first one. Now there's quite a lot of attractive things about this series. First of all, they've got very, very distinctive yellow spines, the early ones at least. They are all numbered as well, and they're not that difficult to get hold of. Very, very distinctive. This is the first one in the series from 1972, and in this sort of yellow format there's probably about 500 to 600 which are sort of uniform, and that for me is like the golden period for Daw books. There was great stuff later on, don't get me wrong, but for me they've got a real special feel about them, and I have always loved them, and I've just sort of in the last sort of 5 or 6 years really tried to track them down and try and get all the initial 500. Here's an example of a few others. So Michael Moorcock, he had a fair bit published in Daw. That's number 178. It's Brian Lumley. So it wasn't just science fiction, it was fantasy, and there was horror as well. And although I've not got a lot of the horror ones, they are amongst the most collectible of all Daw books. I've got this one by fairly local to me author Brian Lumley, which is really, really nice. That's number 91. Here's one by Frank Herbert. So they did like a mini series within the series of the book ofs, and they've got this circular motif on the front, and this is the book of Frank Herbert, obviously the June author. And they did multiple ones in that sort of line. Classics were not ignored either, so if it was something that was out of print, Daw would not shy away from it if they could get the rights, and that included a few Philip K. Dick titles, and these are particularly sought after these days, the Philip K. Dick ones. Once again, not ridiculous money, but you know, you do expect to pay a bit for these particular ones. And another great series within a series that they did was the annual World's Best SF, and this is like an anthology which was selected by Donald A. Wilhelm, and that ran for many, many years. They also did a horror one and a fantasy one as well, so definitely worth tracking down those, and they're really easy to get hold of. They also took over the rights from Ballantine to publish the John Norman Gore books, which had a huge audience, but they sort of did slightly go off the boil a bit, and they're quite hit or miss after the first sort of half a dozen or so. But Daw published them right up until the end, including the very scarce Magicians of Gore, which never actually got published in the UK, but it did come out in America, and Daw published the whole run. So it was the very 25th one. So if you look at the spines, they've got that super distinctive yellow spines there, as you can see, like that. But the later ones, they're sort of all different colours, including the white there. So I don't think they're quite as attractive, the later ones, compared to the earlier ones. Now, as well as the books, I do also try and pick up any Daw memorabilia that I can get my hands on, which is quite hard to come by these days, particularly in America and the UK. But I did find these in eBay USA and had a friend send them over to me. So it's the catalogue for 1981, when Daw were coming up to their 10th anniversary. And there's the one from 1982. So I am on the lookout for a few more of these, if I can find particularly 1970s bits of POS. They did box sets, they did obviously the books as well. And there's a couple of really great websites on Daw books. And of course, I've dedicated a couple of videos, in fact 3 videos, chronicling my collection from number 1 up to number 500. So if you're at all interested in Daw books and what they've got to offer, do check those videos out, and I'll put links to all of those and the other books we're going to be seeing today in the description down below. So the next series we're going to be having a look at are photo novels. So this was very much a product of the late 1970s, sort of about 78, 79, they were sort of in their heyday, and of course the home video market sort of put tied to that. However, I think they're really, really fun to collect. There's not actually that many of them. You could probably pick up, if you excuse the Star Trek ones, of which there's 12, there's probably about another 20 or so in this sort of format to get. They're not all published by Photo Novel. Pocket Books published a few as well, and they're like worth tracking down. But these, I just pulled out a few of my favourites from the shelves. This is the photo novel to the original Close Encounters film. Absolutely fantastic. And basically it would be the entire film And they've just sort of done it like a comic book where you've got like speech balloons, or in this case speech sentences pointing to the actor who was actually speaking them. Still a great movie, Close Encounters. That's one of the easiest ones to find. This was always one of the most collectible ones. It's for the original 70s animated version of Lord of the Rings. Gorgeous film, and it's a shame they never did the full trilogy. I still really like it. And obviously Lord of the Rings collectors are after that particular one, so that can go for a few pounds. This is the one for Greece. And this has had a little revival since the sad passing of Olivia Newton-John. Once again, quite a collectible and sought after one. That's sort of £15 to £20 plus. I have in fact seen that one sell this year for £70 for a really mint one. So, you know, make of that what you will. I'm sure that was a temporary thing. This one's quite easy to get. It's the Rocky and Rocky 2 sort of adaptations. The first two films, really, really great. Put into photo novel form. And another quite easy one to get hold of, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the tie-in to that movie. But there are quite a few other ones. There's a few duffers in there as well. So, but once again, I've done a video showcasing my collection. One of the big spin-offs for the photo novels was the Star Trek ones. So they adapted 12 classic Star Trek episodes, and these are fantastic. There's obviously the full episode, and they got like a quiz at the end and trivia. These are really, really great. Absolutely loved these as a kid, and I still love them today. Thankfully, very, very easy to get hold of. They have massive print runs, so you can find these photo novels without too much trouble at all. In fact, I remember these just getting remaindered at the time. Back in the day, in the early 80s, you could easily find them. Number one is perhaps the hardest one to find in nice condition, but all of these are really, really easy to get. And photo novels, well, they're a bit of an oddity, but I've always really liked them, and I still love them to this day. They're fantastic. There's another great one at the Deadly Years, and there's one when they all aged. Yeah, photo novels. Mad, but good fun to collect. Now, in a similar sort of vein, really, is TV tie-ins. So, I mean, I didn't know, honestly, where to begin by sort of saying, well, look, TV tie-ins is a fun thing to collect. These sort of go hand in hand with film tie-ins, and maybe I'll show those next time, but I love classic telefantasy. That's my absolute love. So TV tie-ins, paperback tie-ins to TV telefantasy is what I particularly love to collect. Not always telefantasy, but a lot of it. So I just went along one little shelf, the sort of the start of the alphabet, and pulled like a few like random ones to show you, like the Avengers. Those are from the 60s, of course. It's Blake Seven from the 70s and early 80s. There was one odd Champions book, which is, you know, fairly hard to find these days. The Sixth Sense is Death. This is one I picked up quite recently. It was only £2.50. This is Danger Man, or Secret Agent as it was in America. Really, really great sort of TV tie, and that great 60s design on that, which I love. That's an American one. The Invaders, another series I absolutely loved, a Quinn Martin production. And I have done a separate video on Invaders, actually, with like the very minimal related memorabilia that came out for it. MASH, great sitcom. There was a whole series of books. In fact, they list a few on the back there, but there was, I think, easily 15 or 16 in the series, if you want to track those down, which are worth finding. Man from U.N.C.L.E., 16 in the UK, I believe 25 or 26 in America, maybe even more than that. Plus Girl from U.N.C.L.E. had a range as well. Fairly easy to find over here, except numbers 15 and 16. They're a little bit harder, but great fun if you like the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Good series to collect. Mission Impossible, another great series. This is an American popular library one, but there's British editions as well as the USA for Mission Impossible. Looks like there's 4 of those. And even stuff like Porridge, you know, one of my all-time favourite sitcoms. This one had 5 books in actual fact. Porridge, another helping of Porridge, a further serving of Porridge, Going Straight, and the movie novelisation. So 5 Porridge books alone. So really, with TV tie-ins, I mean, it's a whole genre in itself, and there's lots of people that's all they collect, and that's not even touching the Star Trek, the Doctor Who, of which I've got hundreds and hundreds of those. But these are just a few odd series that I thought, well, TV tie-ins, it's I think they're really, really fun to collect. They are collectible, and some people even go for some of these books in hardback because they do exist, albeit in much harder and shorter print runs. So if TV Times is what you're into, have a look over the channel because there's all sorts of stuff that you might be interested in other videos. So the classic publisher that I'm bringing down today for us to have a look at is Corgi books. Now, Corgi books were ever so slightly smaller. They were more American formats. If you have a look, that's a typical British A format, and basically they're the same sort of width, but they're shorter, much more akin to an American paperback. And the thing about Corgi, I think they're very much like Pan books, where they published all genres. Perhaps they didn't do a lot of non-fiction, but they did a bit. But they did all sorts of genres: war, crime, juvenile delinquency, westerns, science fiction, all sorts. And they generally had really, really great covers, such as this one, which is an Evan Hunter, which is, of course, Ed McBain. You recognise him as that. This is a great one with a syringe cover, sort of a cross between a JD one and a drug title. Very, very collectible, that one. Here's one of their science fiction ones. It's Arthur C. Clarke, Expedition to Earth. Really great designs on these. They did movie tie-ins as well. There's quite a scarce Hammer movie, Yesterday's Enemy. Quite an interesting one, that. Really edgy, actually. And well worth seeing if you've never come across it. A bit grim, but it's worth a watch. Yesterday's Enemy. Western. There's a great Louis L'Amour. This is the first Fast Draw. That's the first UK paperback of that one. Very, very collectible Western author, and one I actually do enjoy reading. Mickey Spillane, another great crime author. That was perhaps his most famous one, I, the Jury. But he did many others, and Corgi published them all. Here's a juvenile delinquency one here. Beautiful jacket on that one, absolutely gorgeous. Can't quite make out the author, but it's a beauty. Very, very nice, that. Here's a nice early space one, Frederick Brown, Space on My Hands. They're lovely, aren't they? These are sort of mid-50s. Not all of mine are first editions. Let's have a little look at this. Let's see when this one was published. Corgi books, 1953. So, yeah, one of my earlier Corgis, that one. They are all numbered, but the numbering on Corgis is incredibly complicated, so I wouldn't even recommend trying to collect them by number. Just collect by genre, or just by the actual titles that you might want to pick up, because they're such great fun. Another science fiction here, Asimov, Pebble in the Sky. I love collecting early Asimov in paperback. Here's one of their war titles. Really nice cover again on that one. I've been going through these looking for POW titles because I'm doing a video. It's going to go out on New Year's Day, actually, on prisoner of war escape stories in vintage paperback. And amazingly, I only found one in Corgi. I thought they'd done a lot more. There's another one of their westerns. This one's got a front cover by Edward Mortlemans, who did a lot for Foursquare. Look how great that is. What a beautiful, beautiful cover. Very, very, very nice. And the last one I've got here is this. This is quite a common subject in vintage paperbacks. It's sort of this is British officers who were prisoners of the Japanese. It's got illustrated by, you'll recognise the name, Ronald Searle, who actually experienced it at the time. Very, very nice book, that one, 4 Years of Hell, and quite a scarce Corgi to find in nice condition as well. So there we are, Corgi, a great publisher, a real mixture of stuff. So you might just want to specialise. To be honest, I tend to pick up any vintage Corgis if they're in pretty nice condition, but I particularly like the science fiction ones that they do because I think they're very, very good. So the last series we're looking at today is a modern series, so you can just go into your local bookshop or hop onto Amazon and you can find these on the shelf to buy right now. You may not be able to get them all, but with a bit of searching, I'm sure you'll be able to track them down. Now, these are published by Penguin, and it's part of their Clothbound Classics. So it's Penguin Classics and then Penguin Clothbound Classics. And if you've watched this channel before, I'm a huge fan of these. I love the way that they're all designed individually by Corgi Bickford-Smith, and I think they're just fantastic. Now, they come in two formats these days. So this is more traditional hardback size, and there's about 90 of these in total, and they publish between 6 and 8 new ones each year. And they've done all manner of authors. They've not done all the Dickens, but I suspect they'll all get done eventually. And I brought down just a few. We've got Hard Times there. We've got Adventures of Sherlock Holmes there by Conan Doyle, with the fantastic Holmes falling down the Reichenbach Falls at the end of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which is really, really awesome. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland here, another real favourite of mine, and Animal Farm there, which is obviously a thin one, but once again, beautiful, beautiful books these. And I've probably got now maybe about 20, 25 of them. There's a handful left that I'd like to get. There's certainly, I wouldn't want to get all 90. They're just titles that I would never get around to reading. But if you have a look at the list, and they're all on Penguin's website, which is a very easy way to look at them, but there's also a dedicated page on Amazon, you can go through and you could easily bookmark 20 that you fancy. And what I try and do with these is get one a month. So I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and the collection is slowly growing, and they just look gorgeous on the shelf. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, just to tease us even more, in the autumn, and they've released the winter selection now, Penguin released little cloth-bound classics. So these are just the most gorgeous hardbacks. Same designer, same format with the lovely cloth covers here, and but they're just a little bit smaller. They're even smaller than a normal A format. But to say these are the perfect gift is like an understatement. They are fantastic. Now, I haven't brought them all down yet, but they released 12 in the autumn and 12 for the winter, and there's going to be obviously 12 for the spring and summer. So I brought down 5 of my favourites here. So we got Cosmocomics, Italio Calvino, Metamorphosis, Franz Kafka. Another, just a delight. These, they're so good. My all-time favourite Sherlock Holmes story was published as a standalone cloth-bound classic, The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. Very, very appropriate one for Christmas. It is just superb. Love that one. And if you know the story, the carbuncle in question, it's like a diamond, was hidden inside a goose. And that's the part of the story that the designer is focused on. I thought they might focus on the diamond itself, but they did it on the goose, and I think that's a really great choice. Bit of horror there. Edgar Allan Poe, Mask of the Red Death. It also includes all his classics that you would want to read. Just look at them there. For the House of Usher, Pit and the Pendulum, Telltale, they're all in there. The classics are all there. That's a really, really nice one. These retail for about $9.99 each. And the other one, which I absolutely love, is Breakfast at Tiffany's. Truman Capote. Oh, fantastic. What a great, great edition of that. I've got a really nice 60s one, which is a movie tie-in with Audrey Hepburn on the front, which was also a Penguin. But that one there is just superb, and definitely makes a fantastic gift. So there you are. I hope that's given you a little bit more inspiration if you are looking to get into collecting books, and there's some great ideas there for you to have a little think about. Now, I've done 2 previous videos on this, and I've probably got another 4 or 5 of these easily that we could do. So I try and do one a month, because it seems the feedback is really, really positive. You like to see these, and I'm more than happy to share little nuggets from my collection. So if you have enjoyed this video, do please give it that thumbs up. Do please consider subscribing if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.